Hello guys, welcome back. So in this episode, we are quickly going to explore how to make our errors readable. So at the moment, we have this kind of error, but we want to transform it into this. So to better showcase this, I have my server running, and if I go back here, we get to see it. And if I come back to my postman, I can make these requests just to confirm that. So I'm making this request to our login endpoint without providing any of the required parameters. So based on that, we have this error, which doesn't really make so much sense. So as a result of that, we want to make this much more readable such that whoever is making use of our API can get a better idea of what they need to do. And furthermore, let's assume we remove this entirely and we make the request again. Now the error that comes out is EOF, meaning end of file. Again, nobody is going to really take this seriously. They probably won't understand it. So again, we should be able to handle this situation. And finally, let's have this kind of error where the type of data we provide is completely different from what is expected. So let's see. Cannot unmarshal string. So the type here is a string, and we're expecting a JSON format. So now that we've explored all the possible errors we can have, let's get into implementing what is safe for us. So back within our code, we have the server running, and we're going to stop the server now because we need to install a package. We need to achieve this. And installing that package makes things a lot simpler. The package we'll be installing is called the validator. So to do that, we have go get this. Okay? So now that we have it installed, let's clear this. To set things up, we want to create a variable that we can easily access within our API package. So as a result of that, let's just have it within the server. So just like we have with the token controller, we want to create a new variable here. So here I'm going to call this gvalid. Okay? And this will be equals to validator.new. So we are creating a new instance of validator. And once we define this, we can come back to where we need to use it. So coming back to the auth page, so we'll locate our login function because we are currently acting on it. And here is our login function. So just below the user definition, so here we can have error viewer. So I just call this eviewer. And this is going to be equals to our validator instance, that's gvalid.validator. Now we're going to pass our params into it so that it understands what it's expecting. Then we're going to instantiate it like that. So now with this done, we are going to change this from just returning the error to eviewer.decrypt errors. So we want to decrypt the error we are sending. So with that done, let's start our server and see what it looks like. Okay, so back in Postman, let's revert back to the initial stage, like this, and let's send our requests. So now we get this, which kind of makes sense, but not entirely where we want it, so we get to that later on. However, let's test for the other case scenario. So let's test for having an empty string. So we have unmarshal error. Not entirely clear yet, so we are still going to get into that. And finally, let's test when we did not send anything at all. And this time around, our server breaks entirely, so it means our validator instance was unable to recognize this error, and as a result, it just panicked. So if we come back here, we get to see the whole panic. So based on the situation we have on ground, we want to create a function that allows us handle things better. So I'm going to come back to my utils, create, or rather just use the utils.go file. And here I'm going to create a function to handle our error. So within our function, we're going to send three parameters: the error itself, the gene context so that we can access the situation well, and finally the validator instance. So we can have error as error, then G contest, I'll C into gene contests. Then finally the validator, so I'll call this G valid into validator dot validator. So here we are expecting an interface, and the reason we're expecting an interface is because we can get multiple type of data from here. It can either be a JSON object or anything entirely. So as a result of that, I'm just going to return an interface. Okay. So the first error we want to check for is when we do not provide anything. And we can easily check that with if c.requests.content length is equivalent to 0. So if content length is not provided, so this is quite straightforward. We just tell it to provide body. And finally, we can return gvalid.decrypt errors. They will specify our error. So that's better now. So coming back into our hot, so instead of having this here, we can just have utils.undo error. Then we send the error, we send the contests, and the error viewer. Okay? So let's check it out now. So if we do not provide any body, then we get this. So this makes more sense. So you're telling the user that they should provide a body. Okay? However, if we provide a random string, unmarshal error. So we're still going to get into this because this does not really make any sense. Unmarshal error does not make a lot of sense. And finally, if we do this, we get this error. Okay? So let's move on to handling unmarshal situation. So back within our utils, we want to convert that error to JSON unmarshal type and verify if it's that situation. So we can do that by having error dot into star JSON dot unmarshal type error, this. So at the end of the day, we are going to get an error, or let's just call this E because we have error already, comma, OK. And this is just verifying that situation went well. And here we are going to check if it's okay. So that means finally we have to have if here. So if the conversion was successful, then we have two situations. So the two situations involves us sending invalid data type into our keys. So for instance, we are expecting email and password, but both fields are expecting a string. So if we send different data type, then it's still going to be an unmarshal situation, but we want to handle it differently from when we just send a string object, okay? So based on that, if it's a string object, then the field e.field would be empty. So as a result of that, we can check if e.field is equivalent to an empty string. Then our error in this case is going to be different. So here we can just return provide a JSON body like that. However, if it's still an unmarshal situation, but this is happening due to providing bad data type, then the error can be different. So we can have a message format string. So in our message, we want to have invalid So finally, we can return the message. All right, so let's test this out as Java is running. So we still have this. So let's return this back to having a random string. So this time around, we have provide a JSON body, which means our structure does not fit into a JSON body. But now, if we provide a JSON body without providing anything, we get this back. And finally, we can check the email field. So this is expecting a string. However, let's provide a value or a figure. And yeah, this is the expectation. So invalid field Oh, this is a tautology. So let me remove one of it. So invalid value. Yeah, that should be invalid value. Okay, let's try it again. So now this is readable, invalid value for field email, expected a value of type string. So this makes more sense. So technically now, I think we are done with the flow. What is only remaining now is if we do not provide the normal thing. So yeah, maybe required itself might be convenient for you. Email required, password required. That might be convenient, but sometimes you want to kind of tailor things a little bit. So as a result of that, we can make use of the custom message feature. And to do that, we can come back into our code, come back to the server where we define things. We can close this. So after defining the instance, we can add the custom message to it. And here we can specify validator.messages. So within our messages, we want to listen to the required key. So whenever we see the required key, we want to change it to this field is required. And that's all we need to do. So let's check it out again. So let's send the requests. And now we have this field is required. So this might be much more readable than the initial one. And with this, we are done with implementing our readability of our error. So to reuse this for other parts, we can come back to the auth and check our register. So the same thing here, we can have a viewer. And this is going to be equals to gvalid.validator into the user's params. So just like we have with the login, we are going to have utils.undo error. Then we have the error, we have the context, and we have the eViewer. And that will be hit. We have undo the error for our situation. So yeah, that's cool. That's more like a validation error anyways. So other errors will probably be handled by you. And this is where we are going to be rounding up today's episode. If you enjoy it, kindly leave a thumbs up. If you've not, I would appreciate you subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us grow even better. Thanks, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.